Good evening. I'm very happy that you would be here on this March 17th, of 2025. Here and not out in a bar getting blitzed right now. There's a lot of people who are doing that tonight. A lot of people who are all about their celebrations of St. Patrick's Day and just going out and having a grand old time. Not really going to set themselves up for a pleasant wake up tomorrow. This is, of course, what St. Patrick would have wanted for us. We can remember that St. Patrick was kidnapped as a slave when he was a lad and brought to the land of Ireland and forcefully made to labor, keeping sheep for some Celtic warlord or another. And when he did finally escape and make it back to his homeland in Britain, he decided that he was going to consecrate himself entirely to the service of God, that he was going to, you know, uh, make amends for the Irish people, and then go back to Ireland with a very difficult and dangerous mission to go and be a Christian missionary there, to take on the Druids of that time and preach a rather unpopular message. The same St. Patrick was, not living in luxury like maybe certain bishops in other parts of the Roman Empire would have been. But, he was a rugged missionary bishop. He was probably pretty happy if somebody gave him a barn to sleep in and he didn't have to be out in the misty and damp cold of Ireland. One time, St. Patrick decided that he was going to spend the entirety of Lent fasting and praying on a mountain, Crow Patrick. Uh, Not a lush and green mountain, but I've been there. It's basically just a big pile of rocks. He spent the entirety of Lent up there praying and fasting. No cover, no trees, no greenery, with intense focus on our Lord. And so it just kind of gets underneath my skin a little bit when I see all sorts of people, Irish or not, deciding to take this holy, this stern, this rigorous saint and take his feast day as an opportunity for drinking and debauchery. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're not out getting blitzed in a bar somewhere. I suppose you could be at home and making a mess out of things, but uh, the sort of honor that St. Patrick would have wanted would be something that is sober and serious. And that's all I've got for today. So, uh, St. Patrick, pray for us and pray especially for those people who are drinking and fornicating in your name. And speaking of sobriety and seriousness, we've got friend of the show, Andrew, here. Hello.
How's it going, Father?
Well, I'm all right. I'll be just fine. We'll
Mhm.
I'll calm down eventually. It's every year on this day, I'm just like, holy saint, a holy saint, Andrew.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do?
I'm going to stay at home and pray. Talk to randos on
Oh,
the internet.
uh, yeah.
What's on your mind?
Um, Nothing too much. I'm headed to Catholic land, Fort Wayne, Indiana. So
Oh, what's in
yeah,
Fort Wayne?
my grandparents.
Oh, very good.
So
Very
yep.
good.
Uh-huh. I don't know. I gave one of them a book by John Bergsma, or Dr. John Bergsma.
Dr. John Bergsma, that's right.
Occasionally I get the titles right. Um, yeah, and she seemed to like it, so glad with that.
Yeah, no, he's real excellent. Anything that he's got his name on has been high quality as far as I can tell. So
Mhm.
yeah, a little bit of confidence with Catholic biblical scholars. You love to see it, right?
Let's
Not just acting like
go.
the Protestants know everything. It's like, no, 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 this is our book.
Yeah, there's a bunch of converted Protestants in biblical studies. It's so funny. I'm telling you, they either become like some sort of traditionalist Christian or Jewish or whatever atheist. There's no in between.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's an interesting point. I mean, you could think of like, Dr. Scott Hahn. Yeah, he was married by the time he became Catholic, so couldn't really go into the ministry. Not from a Presbyterian tradition. If he had been Anglican, he might have been able to get away with it. So putting their biblical studies to use in a university is it's a pretty good use of their time, I think, for these converted guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, especially for any of you who don't have enough books on your shelves, the Catholic Introduction to Sacred Scripture. He's one of the editors on that, one of the writers of that. It's peak, but that's a big chunky book. He's got littler ones too. So
Don't they call it like the Ignatius Study Bible or something like that?
he's also involved in that, and he's done a lot of good work with that. But that's a study Bible. The Catholic Introduction to Sacred Scripture is a book about the Bible.
Oh, okay.
It's got a bunch of it's really good. I like most of it. Anything I don't like is something that people can debate, not settled doctrine. So you still in university?
Nope. Dropped out.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I'm freelancing now.
Freelancing. Well, if you need some work, Fargo, North Dakota is always hiring. So
all right.
you can come out where it's cold.
Yeah.
Make a man out of you, something like that.
I can't grow a beard, man. I'm too Asian.
Okay. We'll lend you one. You read any good books lately?
I just finished this one. We went over to the Dead Sea Scrolls and at the Reagan Library. Dead Sea Scriptures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My mistake. This book was made in like 1990 something, so it's not the complete Dead Sea Scroll stuff. Like they don't have the Temple Scroll. They only have like parts of whatever the Copper Scroll and stuff. So now I've got to go out and buy another book. What can you do? But it was fun.
Do you have to buy another book?
Not really, but
okay. All right. Just it's always worth asking the question: do we need another book?
Yeah.
Oftentimes the answer is no.
Yeah. I mean, I wanna be able to brag, right? I gotta say, I read all the Dead Sea Scrolls. I read them all. That'll make the.
Yeah. So you're primarily pursued by honors, motivated by honors.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Where does that put me? The second layer of heaven, something like that. In
heaven. Okay, you'll be purgatory. We'll get you into purgatory. You can spend a good long time on the first ring for your pride. If your problem wasn't lack of information to begin with, then more information will not help.
That's true.
Sam Tiedemann had a great conversation with Jordan Hall about the Trinity. My favorite video today. All right. You obviously didn't see that Adam and Mark had dropped another ancient history lore on that. But Jordan Hall's been Christian for all 5 minutes. So we'll see what he has to say about the Trinity. It could be good. He's pretty solid. And we've got Ron coming in. How you doing, Ron?
Pretty good evening, gentlemen.
How's it been?
Not too bad. I just got done with some chocolate chip cookies and milk, so
For St. Patrick's Day?
I don't drink anymore, dude. I did my time. I graduated with a hangover. That was about it. But happy St. Patrick's Day to both of you.
We're having a sober and serious St. Patrick's celebration here tonight, so
Oh,
I think
that's
you'll
a-
fit right in.
Oh God,
At
but
least I'm trying to keep it serious.
oh no. All right, what do you tell? I did see. I saw Jordan Hall's interview with. Is it Nate? Not Nate. Oh God, I'm sorry, Sam Tiedemann. And
Yeah,
yeah, it was, dude. So much of when they were talking, it just washed over me. I mean, it was coming fast and furious. But
well, some of these conversations are optional, so
I like Jordan Hall. I mean, I know you said he's been born again for like 5 minutes, which is true, but I I'm interested to see how someone like him can just articulate his relationship with God. I think it's interesting. And I just like seeing to me, it's like candy. It's like watching someone grow and get revelation, or just, for me, the best part is when they express what God has done for them.
the
And
witness.
yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
witness.
yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. And oftentimes people who are very new into the church are able to give effective witness. It's just I remember thinking this exact thing. And fortunately, as far as I can tell, everything's gone pretty well. When Shia LaBeouf was, baby Catholic and had that conversation with Bishop Barron, I remembered thinking, "Oh, come on! Like, don't everybody go and like trot him out all of a sudden. Like, give him some time. Just give him some time to settle into this. Let's make sure he's and as far as I can tell, he doesn't go around, getting trotted out everywhere, which is
Yeah.
good. We'll just let him settle into this in a good way. Because St. Paul says not many of you should be teachers. So yeah. He's got to be careful with these things.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a random question. So, like, I've I've kind of been like giving whatever presentations for our like Sunday school group like once in a while, you know what I mean? Like they kind of rotate it so that whenever someone wants, they can like
Sunday
ask.
school group is adults, children,
Adults, like young adults, pretty much.
young
Yeah,
adults.
like after college and up, pretty much.
And this is at your parish?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And I've kind of just been doing it to like, well, not just been doing it, but my first impetus to doing it was like organizing my thoughts on certain subjects and like, giving like an introduction to certain topics. And I'm wondering, like, is that still a good motivation? Should I rethink?
Yeah.
why-
So, I mean, if first off, if this is something that you're doing under the supervision of the priest there, that's all good. And what he thinks is certainly important. Yeah. And is this just like kind of a continuing education thing? This isn't like for catechumens or something like that?
No, yeah.
Yeah, like I did a whole series on the Book of Revelation on this YouTube channel just because I was really curious about it. And it was the summer of 2021, and things were just a little more apocalyptic back then, and there was some stuff
Nice.
bouncing around some Pageau stuff bouncing around my head, and it
Mhm.
So it was partially to satisfy my own curiosity and partially because it was summer, and summer in North Dakota at Catholic parishes is very slow. So I had lots of time to do research, right? So this was a good use of my time as far as I was concerned, putting these slides together, and whether or not it was actually helpful for the audience is a question for somebody else to answer. So I think using the motivation to have a presentation ready for other people isn't a bad, like using that as motivation for your own studies and actually diving into things is fine. Like, I don't think that's a problem. Unless you're doing something that the priest there wouldn't like, in which case that's his problem, not mine.
Thank you. Thanks for the advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The worst thing is when I try writing it all down and I hit a wall. And I'm
I
like,
kind of hit a
"Did
wall trying to prepare a rant tonight,
Uh-huh.
so I just got mad about St. Patrick.
Yeah. When was he? When was St. Patrick?
He was like
What?
at the very end of the Roman Empire, so like I think he was born somewhere around 350 and died somewhere like 425 or 430, something like that.
Mm,
So 4th and 5th centuries.
mm.
So yeah,
The end of the Roman
Christianity
Empire.
was the very end of the Roman Empire. He was on the edge already, so the collapse of the whole thing didn't affect him quite as much as it maybe could have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was right around about the time AI was being developed, and it all just went downhill.
Yeah. AI killed the Roman Empire. You got some deep lore for us here. Some hitherto undiscovered archaeological evidence of large language models running on abacuses or something
In Atlantis.
in Atlantis. Perfect.
So, if you don't mind, what is your take? I've been researching and looking at videos on Saint Patrick. Was kidnapped as a child, escapes miraculously, learns the faith. God says go back. He does, and the rest is history. Pretty much, yeah. In a nutshell.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Was he a big miracle worker, or?
Oh boy, yeah, that's the question there. There's a lot of these traditions that we have about St. Patrick, which we don't find written down anywhere until 3 or 4 centuries after his death.
Yeah.
What we do have is we have his basically spiritual autobiography, his confessions. That was, I guess, a format pioneered by Saint Augustine that he took up himself. And we also have a letter that he wrote to a local king or warlord or what have you, asking for some favor or another. I can't remember the exact context. So that's what we have in terms of the real historical evidence there. We don't have any contemporary accounts of miracles, but I happen to be a miracle enjoyer and a miracle believer.
Yeah.
And so you very well could have, but we don't have anything that would qualify as historical. The
Okay.
stuff, the legends are like much, much later. And it's like, well, maybe.
Right. No, I just asking. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a whole bunch of them. It's just not written down or authenticated. But
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, and I didn't know if there was some. It's I'm reading the comments here. RJ says, can any saint? There it is.
Beat St. Patrick in the prayer off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not really a competition.
Oh,
Our Lady's gonna win. That's fine.
all
Nobody's
right.
even mad about that. Like when the goat's on the court, everybody knows it. It's just it is. Yeah.
So I got a Trinity question for you, Father.
Alrighty. Let's go.
And I'm Jewish. You know I've told you this before, and I met Jesus. Blah blah blah. And I God. I hope this doesn't sound stupid or insulting. Is the Trinity a big deal in a salvation kind of way. Like, thou believeth in the Trinity, you're cool, and if not, you're smoked.
I think it would be a little more complicated than that. So where's this going to come in and be a salvation issue? Let's imagine we've got Bob the farmhand.
All right.
Bob the farmhand read something in a book once, and it really confused him about the Trinity. And he's just got like ideas that are just not kosher at all with the Trinity. But he goes to Mass faithfully. He believes what the priest is saying. He
Confession of
receives
faith.
communion. He goes to confession.
Yeah.
Tries to treat his neighbors well. Like, that's not going to be a problem. He's just confused. So, like, you know, Bob's not expected to be able to articulate Trinitarian dogma with theological precision. Right. Now, if Bob, you know, had some novel insights into the Trinity that were problematic, and then began telling people, and then when Father, you know, kind of took him aside and say, "Hey, you know, Mary's not a part of the Trinity. That's not correct," but he decided that he really had a revelation from God.
Nothing like that. Nothing like that. Yeah. I'm just saying it's because, and I'm saying this because I myself, and I'm not trying to be insulting or inflammatory. I don't care. It's like, and I'm not trying to be like, I know who I was. I was Saul, breathing out threats on my way to Damascus. Whammo, got changed. Who are you, Lord? It's me, Jesus, let's go. I'm like, fine. So the whole Trinity thing, I'm not opposed to talking about it and enjoying it, but for me, I don't see that as salvation. And so I'm asking you kind of like off grid, like, okay, is it to the people in the Catholic faith?
Oh, it's a matter of like the church has kind of put her whole authority behind this, right?
Okay.
The church is, you know, it's like we've come down on the side of the Trinity, multiple ecumenical councils, considered established dogma. And so it's more along the lines of like, okay, you want to be Catholic, but you also want to not submit to the authority of the church, which has decided on this matter centuries ago and refined it throughout the centuries, and considers it kind of like a central aspect of our theology, you know, and the mystery of God there. So that would be more of the tack in there rather than just having incorrect thoughts. It's like, you know, this is a matter of the authority of the church. I think that would be more relevant, if that makes sense.
I got a little distracted. I didn't quite track. So I understand it is the magisterium or whoever said this is what we believe, and if you want to be Catholic, this is what you have to agree with, and wrap your head around a little bit, or at least try to say, I don't understand, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you could say, I don't really understand this, but, you know, the parts that I do understand, I'm going to try my best at, and most people can figure out loving God and loving neighbor.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because this is one of the few places where I feel like I won't get into a dogfight. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm just picking your brain. Like, for me, I see it almost like trying to divide time, like that we live in, past, present, and future. For me, it's all one and three: past, present, future. And so for me to argue about any of it or to get offended at it, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. I'm like, you want to argue about past, present, future? Go ahead. But I'm in the now, and I don't want to waste my now. Now I'm trying to make it bigger than this. I just don't get the vitriol sometimes, or the the fight.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is a matter of identity, right?
Okay. Okay.
And when you feel like your identity is being threatened, so maybe not you necessarily, but something that's so close to your body, your identity, that it ends up being an attack on you. I read
Okay.
somewhere that the more bumper stickers somebody has on their car, the more likely they are to be an aggressive driver, because they see their car as like an extension of their personality,
Okay.
and they need to stamp their personality on their
Right.
car by putting a great number of bumper stickers on there, and they'll react very poorly if they perceive themselves in the car being attacked there.
Okay.
Um, so this can happen in a number of ways. You can have somebody who's responsible for upholding Catholic doctrine, a priest
Hmm.
or a bishop or something like that, and
Right.
when they see something that they can judge to not be in accord with it, this is their children and their body, which
Yeah.
they're to care for, under attack, and so there'd
Right.
be kind of a response there. There's a
Right.
reason why we don't, have 20-year-old bishops in the Catholic Church. It should hopefully be a thought out and measured response,
Right.
rather than, a hot-headed, punch over Twitter. Um,
Right.
I don't really think that bishops should manage their own Twitter account if they have one at all. Um, the higher
Right.
you go up in the hierarchy, the more careful you need to be with your speech, because
Oh, yes.
that's a thing. And then sometimes, you've got younger people who are just kind of coming into their faith. They'll say they're young in the faith, certainly.
Right.
And they've got all these new ideas, and they've got this new identity that they've taken upon themselves.
Sure. Okay.
And anything they go around and see is not in accord with that identity, they decide is something that needs
Sure.
to go be destroyed. So,
Yeah.
you get your internet debate theologians there.
Does it what I'm saying make sense to you though? Because I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm just asking for your opinion as a priest. Like when
Yeah, I'm not here to police people's thoughts.
no, but I'm interested.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
Um,
because I
so
see it both. I see it both. And I got this from you Catholic guys. I don't see it as either or. I see it both and.
mhm.
So that
Yeah,
yes, okay, all right. So it's Trinity. Yeah, Father. It's Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Yeah, and it's one. What's your problem?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so if
Okay.
you're not looking to get into the weeds, which is fine, I don't need to get in the weeds tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that you got to know about when you're signing up to be Catholic, or
Sure.
if you're deciding to continue to be Catholic, and just being at peace with it,
Uh,
and saying this is a part of it, and you don't
yeah.
have to necessarily go out and do the Trent Horn style debates, or argue with people on Twitter. You just got to be cool with it.
Well, for me, it's more so relational. Like the Book of John, I love so stinking much
Mhm.
because God, and I'm gonna botch how it goes, but Jesus is in the Father, and the Father is in the Son, and it's just the dialogue, the interchange between, and then he's in us,
Mhm.
and I see that again as almost a three-party line,
Mhm.
so that we get to be included in,
Mhm.
but it's singular in the relationship.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just I guess, but I guess I should ask one simple question: is it a salvation issue? And I'm not
It's
on your answer.
so belief can have kind of like three different valences. You have the faith that you believe, right? Here are the articles of faith. We can talk about that sensibly. You have the grace given to you by God by which you believe.
Right.
And then you have the God, the Father, Creator, in whom you believe.
Okay.
The most important part of that is the God in whom you believe,
Okay.
followed by the grace by which you believe in him.
Okay. Yeah.
And if your ability to articulate that in the articles of faith
Uh-huh.
isn't great, that might be a little unfortunate. Certainly, people who are preaching or set up in any kind of authority need to be able to speak sensibly on this.
Right.
But it's really much more about the God in whom you believe and the
Cool.
grace by which you believe than it is
Okay.
the actual, like the content isn't like unimportant, but
Right.
it's the third rank in those
Right.
things.
Okay. No, I appreciate that quite a bit. I like that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That feels right. I don't know how, it's almost like,
It's because it's from Thomas Aquinas, so of
oh,
course it feels right.
way to go, Tom.
I mean, I translated it into English for you.
Right.
We didn't have Credo in Deum, Credo Deo, and Credo a Deo,
Right. I appreciate it. You're earning your money.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's cool. That's kind of why I jumped on. Oh, and also Mary. I is curious because she's not part of the Trinity, obviously. The interaction. This one. This one is always getting into the weeds for me in a good way. It's really confusing. Not bad, confusing. Just like, okay, you're cool and you're cool with God. And when I'm cool with you, I'm cool with God. And how is this working out? Like, in her presence, he shows up. And it's not so much a summoning, it's just, it's almost like one and the same. But she's not summoning God or anything like that. It's just it'd be relational, very relational that way. And just, I can see how someone might get a little lost in the weeds on that one, how it relates to God. If I had not had my first encounter first, I would kind of almost think, well, him and her are kind of one, but not. I realize, well, dude, it is so hard to tease apart sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could think about it. We could take a very practical image here. On Thursday, I get the great joy and honor to be the master of ceremonies for a dedication of a new church here in Fargo, Holy Cross Catholic Church. It's in West Fargo, actually. A big liturgy, a lot of extra rituals that we don't ordinarily do. We could think about what happens, inside of a church, and why do we have a special building for this?
Right.
We got this special building that's, first off, just ridiculously over-engineered, right? Like, why do you need a ceiling that big?
Right.
Like, what the acoustics, is not acoustically necessary. Why does everything need to be so beautiful? We've got that. It's also consecrated. So this is not a space that should be used for just about anything. The children should not be playing tag in here. We're not going to move the pews and then do penny poker or pinochle or something like that. Like, this is a consecrated space. And in this space, this is where we gather together. We worship God. We hear the word of God. We celebrate the holy sacrifice of the Mass. We offer the Eucharist up to the Father, and we receive the Eucharist, hopefully as often as we possibly can. in this church. That's the space that all of this happens in.
Yeah.
And having that, that space that is kind of the perfect atmosphere for human beings to encounter and appreciate these things is actually like a kind of an image of the church, right? Because it's like
Okay.
when people think of going to church, they don't think of Father bringing his portable altar and his suitcase. I have a portable altar. I have a
Okay.
suitcase. I can carry everything I need to say mass in my two hands, right?
Okay.
That's Roman portability of the liturgy there. That's kind of something that we can do.
Yeah.
And celebrate the Eucharist just about anywhere suitable.
Right.
We're allowed to do that. Sometimes there's good reasons to do that, but there's a real fittingness to having this consecrated space that
Mhm.
is the place through which we encounter our Lord. That's like an extremely fitting image. And so even the celebration of the Eucharist inside of the church building is itself an image of our Lord and Our Lady. With Our Lady basically kind of being the space in
Mhm.
which and through which God chooses to work,
Mhm.
and the Lord being the Lord who shows up and brings His benefits to us. So hopefully that was helpful.
No, that's cool. I knew where you were going, and I liked it, and I do understand it. And I hope you understand where I'm coming from, dude. It's confusing, experientially, especially when you have no grid. You're like, where are we at, and how is this playing out?
I guess I have a hard time relating because, like, praying the rosary and celebrating feasts of Our Lady,
Hmm.
I've always done basically as long as I can remember. So it feels very natural to me. Um,
Okay. Oh no, fair enough. Fair,
you
dude. I was the one. I'm the least likely candidate. You know what I mean? I shouldn't be here, but my boat was taking water. I was drowning, and help showed up.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I can't deny I got helped. Like, and I'm cool with it. And you're not leaving, and you've been cool with me for about 2.5 years. I don't know your name, but I got a hunch. And what do we? I would say, what do we do with this? But all I'm getting is just shut up.
Sometimes shut up's the right answer.
I got a feeling I know. And it's not a bad shut up. It's not at all.
Be
It's
still. And maybe it's a bit more of a be still.
yeah, I know. But I'm from Cleveland, so we like just shut up. Just nothing mean. Mark, what's up, dude?
No, it's been a wacky St. Patty's Day. So just
That's what you get for
frustrated.
going out and painting the town red, Mark.
I wish I went outside. Yeah, all I did was go outside and destroy the beaver dam. I have 2 beavers now,
Oh,
so it's a lot more work all of a sudden. Did the beaver get smarter? Oh no, the beaver has help. Aha! Oh look, there's sticks here now. There weren't sticks before.
I'm surprised you can't get somebody who will come out for a modest fee and collect the pelts for you.
I'm sure somebody would come out if I could find the right person. Somebody came out years ago and he was like, "Oh yeah, my son traps beavers," and I'm like, "Send him over." He never did. I'm like, "Damn it!"
Do you know where the beavers? I used to trap when I was a kid. My neighbors did. So
Oh,
I can tell you how to do it. It's not complicated.
I heard if you trap them, well then you got to kill them, and I
No, the trap will kill them instantaneously. It's not.
oh oh
It's the
that's not
traps are
better.
different, huh?
That's not better.
Well, I mean, I don't like it at
Yeah, I'm
all. But
happy having somebody else kill them. What I heard about this was you get one shot, and if you don't get them, they won't be fooled by a trap. But I don't know how true that is. It's just what I
well,
what I found out.
I got to come down here and whack a beaver for you, Mark.
Hey, listen, I know some people.
Please.
All right.
I
We
know
can
a
make
guy
it cool.
who kneecaps beavers for a living.
Yeah, it's.
I'd be tempted. Yeah, I mean, if they're not.
Are
Yeah,
they causing?
they're-
Are they causing property damage?
oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
they're putting holes in the dam.
I
and
got.
they keep jamming things up.
I got an idea for you. Call your local DNR, Department of Natural Resources. Tell them you've got beavers that are causing damage, and you're looking for a trapper, someone that can come in there and get them out. And that, or else just pest control. It's going to sound odd, but if you just call local pest, somebody in your area probably has dealt with that before.
Oh,
What
yeah.
part of a?
Oh, sure.
All right, so that's.
I live in the woods, so yeah.
Oh, nice.
There's plenty of people that. Yeah, we have deer and we have river otters and we have
cool.
blue
Wow.
herring comes to visit. I've got the geese here this week again. They were gone, but they came back. So I'm like, okay. We've got Muscovy ducks, which are pretty. They're speckled colored. They're not mallards. Yeah, it's an interesting place. Yeah, I could get more motivated. And my buddy's got a tree stand. I'm like, dude, just sit up in the tree stand, look to your left,
right
at the right time, and you'll get the little bastard, because the overflow's not that far from the tree stand. I'm like, oh yeah, you could easily. He just hasn't come over, so I'm like, you got to get over here at the right time and take care of this beaver for me. Oh, now it's 2, so like you can take care of these beavers. But they have been chopping down
22 rounds.
Yeah. They have been chopping down some trees that I need gone. So I'm like, oh well, if they keep chopping down the good trees, that would be fine.
It's kind of funny, the umbrage and the what could I say, the inconvenience that a beaver can cause, because it's sort of like, hey, the only species around here that's allowed to modify its environment is us. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, Sherry from Grail Country has a lot of land, and I think they reintroduced beavers into her area, and it brought back rivers, and it really helped bring back the nature that it was. So,
It can. I mean, you wouldn't want to live in Canada when the beavers were around. It was miserable, but it's habitable-ish. As habitable as Canada can get now, but I mean, nature really needs us to balance it out, or it runs wild. That's what wild means.
Okay. No, never heard that. Canada was not inhabitable when the beaver were around.
It was bad up there, man. I mean, there were just lots of trees, and you get I mean, if you've ever seen what beavers actually do when they're sort of untamed by any other factors, like they will build huge dams and which eventually burst and cause all kinds of flooding and destruction. They'll flood out acres and acres of land. In my case, they've dug holes in the dam, so this is why I was calling him the retarded beaver, because he kept digging holes and collapsing the dam, and I'm like, I need this for the pond, you idiot. Like, what are you doing? And now I have 2 other holes in the dam that I got to fill them all. So it's, it can get rather no good. I mean, the thing frozen swamp. Yeah.
Canada was a frozen swamp while the beavers ran the place.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened. They really do. They kill a lot of trees. It's just like right now, there's 2 more trees that if they cut them down, that would be great. They don't cut down the trees that I want. They cut down the trees that they feel like. So they haven't cut down any trees that I've like wanted to keep yet. But it's only a matter of time. They'll run out of trees eventually.
Right. And by the way, I just saw your comment. It's confusing in words. Experientially, it's not a problem. You just live it. I like that.
Yeah, I think, one of the problems that we're living through is that people are very stuck on words
Okay.
and understanding through words and
Okay.
knowing as words, and knowing is not words. That's right from the Bible. And it's, it's not, we'll say, strictly a problem with Protestantism, although sola scriptura certainly doesn't help. But it is a problem of this thing I call the age of gnosis, where knowledge is the highest value, and that knowledge is basically propositions. And, it shows up in places like the idea of Protestant confession, which is a made up crazy thing where you just like say a bunch of words to prove that you're in the club, versus the idea of confession from, say, the Anglo-Catholic sphere, where that is about revealing your sin to somebody who can help you deal with it, right? So it's not a public thing, unlike Protestant confessions, which are very public, right? It's a private relationship with the hierarchy that gives you participation with the highest, without having to go directly, because, again, like I don't know what book the Protestants actually read.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Without having to go directly.
Right.
So you can imagine something like the children of Israel showing up at the base of Sinai.
Okay.
God is at the top, and it's all thunder and lightning and smoke, and the people are like, "Okay, Moses, you go talk to him.
You go talk. He seems mad. You go to right, because again, in the book, if you actually bother to read the whole thing, not skip the parts you don't like. If you look at him, your face melts off. So don't do that, because this isn't that hard, right? So you want a mediator, and like the mediation part is all through the book, and I don't Protestants skip that because of sola sola sola.
Well,
right?
now wait a second. No, wait, but Mark, no wait. I'm Protestant and I'm talking and I'm listening, and okay, I do. But I'm just jacking with you a touch, but it's. I am learning here in the moment, so I'm tracking. So
yeah, it's hard to learn to let go of words when you're used to words, and just experience things, right?
Well, this is the curious. Okay, no, I like that. You're talking my language, and I wasn't expecting it. And I'm okay, because before I go off on my. Okay, please continue, because I am tracking with you. So,
look, it's kind of paradoxical seeming. It's not paradoxical, but it seems that way, because experiences are personal to you, right? They're like you. It's like you and I can both go to the same movie at the same time in the same theater, right? And like have the same popcorn or whatever, and experience very different movies. And so that would seem like it would push us apart. Right? But actually what pushes us apart is words and specification. Because we get a sense in our head that by talking this through, we'll find common ground in the language. The language does not provide you common ground. It provides you starting points and ending points in some cases. It's a really useful tool. Obviously, we're using it right now. We use it all the time, right? But what it doesn't do is it doesn't bring us closer together in participation. And everybody tries to get around that by saying, well, talking to somebody's participating with them. And I'm like, no, actually, it completely is not. it's and that's the problem. The participation comes from the interaction. That interaction can involve language, but the participation is not the language.
Right. Sure. And now, how does this relate? Because I hope we're talking about God and about all of this.
Right. You're not talking to God anyway. Like, that's not happening.
I agree with you. I like that.
You're experiencing the creation and the miracles all the time. Like that's the thing. And insofar as God communicates with you, unless you're freaking Moses, and I don't think you are, I don't. Maybe I'm.
Listen, on a good day, I look like Charlton Heston. Sorry.
There you go. I stand
All right.
corrected.
So yeah.
Look,
All right. So
it's
you're
all
right.
through
So
mediation. It's all
Okay.
mediated. All of the communication is mediated,
Right.
and
And
it can be directly mediated by direct experience, right? Like you can experience a
agree.
mirror. So I went out today and I took a picture of the carnelian bush
Can-
because it's
can we
you know it's
circle around
blossoming.
that? Okay, so because my encounter with Christ was heart, just boom,
Mhm.
and then I had words. Well, it was experiential. It was love, baseline, power and love, just infinite power, infinite love. Um, and then read the Bible. I'm like, yeah, you got it right. Okay, good job. I'm like, so it's because I've been trying to put words to my experiences for so long, and they just always come up lacking.
Yeah, they're always going to come up short, right?
And it's,
Right.
oh, I'm disappointed quite until people he saw that made him. He probably
Yeah.
saw Jesus. He's like,
Yeah. Now
Oh,
show my response to Don.
what's that?
Yeah, I mean, he probably couldn't put it in words.
Yeah, I
That's-
mean,
That's why he stopped writing. Like
That's why he
it's
stopped
very
writing.
logical. This was only about 2 months before he died, so
right.
but we never got the completed Summa. The third part was never finished. We've only got what was compiled from his notes that he left behind. Which even when you read it translated into English, it's not the same author, even though it's pretty good.
Really?
It's like it's just not quite as like excellent.
Right. So when someone encounters God, let's say Jordan Hall, and I'll use him or me or anybody else, what I look for, the candy for me, is their encounter that they try to express in words, and it's always going to be, I guess, okay. I'll just how I operate. Usually, you can hear it and you can see it in how their emotions and the conversation.
Right. But imagine
Okay.
imagine doing that without the witnessing. Because people can't.
What do
Not
you
everybody can.
What do you
Some
mean
people
without the witnessing? I don't. What do you mean by that?
I'll give you a concrete example, Ron. So
Okay.
when I was young, I took martial arts courses and I learned
Okay.
martial arts and I was halfway decent at it. Mostly because I'm fast, not because I was a particularly good martial artist. I'm just, especially before I got sick, I was extremely physically quick.
Okay.
Like I don't know if you've seen Bruce Lee. I wasn't Bruce Lee speed, but I was like that. I was
Okay.
that kind of quick, like an order of magnitude faster than other people. Like, I'm the guy who this happens occasionally, although it's happened more often lately, which is annoying. I will drop something or knock something off a table or a countertop or whatever, and catch it with my hand long before it hits the ground, like a third of the way to the ground.
Okay.
That's how quick I am.
Okay.
Physically.
Okay.
I'm just physically fit,
All right.
right? So I learned martial arts. I'm very young. I really don't, I don't process that, right? And then after I knew martial arts, I became homeless, right? There's a lot of trauma. I'm bouncing around, right? Years and years and years later, I'm working for a Fortune 500 company. My job is to work with the IT department. I'm an IT guy. That's, I'm a software engineer and
Right.
IT guy. This is what I do. And one of the guys I was working with, who normally I would go to his cube, he would be sitting down, we would chat. He was a pretty stocky guy, he's pretty built, not like me. I'm a skinny little short guy, but I'm fast. that's my only thing. I gotta be quick or I'd be dead. So, but he's this stocky guy, the kind of guy that looks like you'd hit him and he'd just kind of laugh at you and then grab you and crush you with his hand, sort of guy. And not very tall either, right? A little bit taller than me, but big guy. And then one day I saw him like in the hall standing up. And I went, "You do martial arts?" And he was like, "Well, yeah, I won the over 30 division," because he was over 30 at the time. He was older than me. He says, I won the over 30 division, last month or whatever it was. And I was like, "Oh, cool. Congratulations." And and he was like, "What? How did you know?" Because he realized he'd never told me about this, and he wondered if somebody else in the group had it. I said, "I can tell by the way you stand."
Right. Okay. Okay.
Right? He did not need to tell me I took martial arts.
Right.
I could see that he took martial arts. It was obvious to me, but I had not seen him stand in that particular way or something before. Like I had just never seen it, and that might be, my flaw. Like I wasn't really paying attention or, whatever, it could be anything, but I hadn't seen it before that moment. But when I saw it, I was correct. It's the same thing, right? You can understand if somebody's, we'll say, been touched by something
Right.
outside of the material world,
Mhm.
by certain cues, and they're not speech cues for me,
Right.
right? And it's sort of like in the same way. Like I tried. Jordan Hall did a talk recently, like, where we're at, recent state, something crazy like that got posted on my Discord server, and I started to watch it. And, I could only get through so much of it because he just started talking like a materialist again. And I'm like, Jordan, what are you doing, dude? Like, what do you do? You have better tools. Like, use the upgrades. Right. And which is not to, denigrate his experience or anything. He's clearly different. Like, I saw him physically at Symbolic World, and I was like, oh, yeah, he's on his way. Right. Baby Christian for sure. But like, he's on a path that he wasn't on before.
Right.
Like you can tell by looking at him physically in person.
Right.
It's not that hard, right? Like for one thing, he did something I never thought I'd see him in particular do. So he's Symbolic World was full of, fairly erudite people who are like locked into the same target as he is to some extent, although maybe a little on the spiritual side for his experience, because it was, primarily Orthodox. But he was sitting there with tons of people around, any of whom would have been, loved to talk to him, eating quietly. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because he has every opportunity in the world to fill his entire space with having the sorts of conversations that he likes with people who have things to say that would be interesting to him or new to him. And he didn't see the need for it in that moment when he was eating his lunch. And everybody kind of knew to leave him alone. And then when he wanted attention, everybody was swarming by him. Right. And, these little things that kind of happen without, we'll say, the verbal signals that we associate with speech, I mean, again, like, do we want to try to explain that in words? Like, I can just show it to you, but it's really hard to talk about. But that was definitely happening there. And he still talks, in that weird way with materialism and using the crazy
up
framing.
here, dude. Yeah. No, well, it's almost like a high-speed race car, or like a Formula One race car. Instead of having a drunk driver in the past, you now have a sober new driver but they're still going to go about 200 miles an hour, but they're just going to be able to keep it on the track. But I see what you're saying, though, and it actually gives me some comfort, because I'll be honest, like, it's not so much honest. I feel a lot. When I got lit 24 years ago, I got plugged into something that's not letting up. And I'm cool with that. And it's just navigating when to talk, how to respond to a world that doesn't like you. And I'll throw this at you, because there's not going to be a lot of people seeing this, and I'm cool with that. I'm around a lot of healings, and I'm not going to say I am a healer. I'll just say I know I put in a lot of requests, and sometimes they get answered. It scares the tar out of me to say something wrong over someone, because I don't want to hurt anybody. Because once you get good, I guess it's like, no, once you get good at doing stuff, you have to make sure you don't have a bad attitude, because if you have a skill set, let's say you're a surgeon and you always have a scalpel with you. You always want to be the surgeon, no matter if someone's picking on you, because you always have that scalpel.
That's your skill. Yeah.
And I've been navigating that for a while. And to be honest, now this, I don't know if I got dealt with by God or I just opened up a few doors that I've learned to close thanks to, what's his name? They did the inner healing, Matt Lozano. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of
Neil Lozano.
Yeah. I think his son is Matt. I listen to those guys, and they help me out a ton.
Mhm.
And so I'm learning, because when you talk about you don't always have to use words to preach. You don't have to use words to have actions occur, which can be very good. But my concern, because I've already experienced it, is you don't have to have words. If you have negative words, you could have negative actions happen on you so fast, have long-term. And I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. It's just that I know, and I'm asking you guys as well. Like, I know healing happens, and I know it's from our words. And I don't want to hurt somebody by saying, well, why don't you just go, because my worst fear is it would happen. And it's either a synchronous moment that Satan is poking me, so I say something bad over someone where that inevitable bad was going to occur anyhow, and I get to blame myself because of a synchronous moment. Or even worse is, like, who was it? The disciples that go, Lord, do you want us to call down fire on those, on the Samaritans? Which means to me, in my opinion, they might have been able to do it.
Yeah. I mean, what's the thing about we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason? And I think the big thing that everyone's missing is the listening. And it's ironic because people always accuse me of this, and I'm like, you I just got into a dust up with Kale about this. He was like, apparently just realized recently that Kim Kardashian is all about women and the men are not involved. And I was like, Peterson talked about this. And then one of his buddies got on me and said, when did Peterson talk about that? So I actually, as this stream was going on, I was just finishing up putting in all the maps of meaning into the AI because you can, although it's a little cumbersome. But I finished it up. It took under an hour. And I asked it, and it said, no, that's definitely there in the maps of meaning lectures. I was like, okay, fair enough. I was correct.
Wow.
Right. But I needed to appeal to another authority because neither of these two paid attention to Peterson. They weren't listening well enough. And so they didn't hear it wasn't a direct statement. He didn't say Kim Kardashian is due to women idolizing her or however you want to frame it. He didn't say that. But like the implication is definitely there in his work. But of course, you have to actually listen to his work. And you can't go, oh, well, I definitely, heard the material. It's like most people have to take notes. It's nice to talk about, well, you could do this while you're driving. And it's like, when I have done audiobooks, it has been when I've been driving. And those books have been pure entertainment. Right. I would not normally dream of driving and listening to a lecture series. That is completely insane to me. Or even doing anything more than maybe the dishes if I had something on hand where I could take notes, because I'm very big on taking notes. And to me, being able to hear something and then recapitulate it in text, like that's a next level of participation to just like attending a lecture. And it's interesting too, because like it's weird, right? Like, because everyone are like, how did you know this? And I'm like, how did you not know this? So that actually comes up in a movie which I desperately love, called Real Genius, which Father Eric remembers, I bet. He saw it for the first time at my house. So
yes, highly recommended.
They've got this scene where the there's a classroom. It's one of these cut scenes where they're trying to say this a long time has passed, like many classes later, right? And so one of the classes he attends, there's all these cassette recorders appearing in the classroom, up to and including like the last scene where he's there. He's the only human being because the professor has instructions on the board that say hit the buttons to start the play on the reel-to-reel tape. So because he's not giving the lecture in person anymore.
Oh,
And like
okay.
it's just the perfect exemplification in a campy, excellent must-watch, but still campy and silly movie from the 80s of this principle of participation. Like they just gradually withdraw the participation in the scene over and over again until finally there are no people participating in the lecture anymore, but all the elements of the lecture are there. It's like, but it's wrong. Like it's funny because it's not, this is not correct.
Right.
This is not how this is supposed to work. You're not just supposed to be transferring the information from the reel-to-reel tape to all the little, regular cassette recorders. That's not how that is supposed to work at all. And that's why the scene's funny. Also, people don't understand this, which I find like they wouldn't find that funny at all. They'd be like, yes, that's perfectly efficient and makes total sense. They will be the smartest kids in the class and get a PhD.
Actually,
that's the
actually,
opposite.
they shouldn't be broadcasting the reel-to-reel tape in that room. What they really need to do is just set up a system where they've got like a tape copier, so they can directly copy the magnetic signals onto the smaller tapes. That's what they should be doing.
That would be the first
That would
thing.
be kind of. Now, Ron, I want to point at maybe a biblical story you might find helpful. Is in the book of Numbers, when the kings of Canaan are worried about the approaching Israelites, and they hire Balaam to come and curse the Israelites. Right? Like,
oh, yes.
That was a big deal for them in those days when they were maybe when they hadn't buffered themselves with the comforting fables of materialism and were walking the earth with the fallen angels and such, and just the seriousness with which they took blessing and cursing in biblical times, and how it's also a manifestation of power of God in that story where like Balaam's like, I can't actually curse these people.
Right.
Like, and you couldn't pay me enough to curse these people because even though I am a heathen, like the big guy upstairs isn't letting me.
Right. Right.
So whatever it is that you're experiencing, if it's of God, it won't curse people.
Cool. I like that. The reason I did this, the story behind this, there was a guy at work who's a bully, big guy, violent, picking on me. And I was like, okay, what's the scriptures? Bless those that curse you, pray for those who spitefully use you, blah, 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 blah. But at night, my mind would go to dark places. And I'm like, what's the one thing he loves? His dog. And I'm like, boy, I tell you what, if I wasn't such a Christian, I would just curse his dog. And I didn't, because I actually liked him more. I liked the dog more than him. And
common story.
But long story short, the dog right after that short period of time after that thought, the dog, both ACLs went out, and the dog recovered. But if I had cursed the dog, at least in my mind and imagination, dude, I would have blamed myself so much. I would have thought I cursed the dog. The reason I'm talking to you this way is years ago when I was in ministry, jail ministry with kids, and me and my buddy were bumping heads bad, and I copped a bad attitude against him in jail in front of the kids in my heart, and I felt it was unforgiveness. I was not possessed, but I became oppressed by a spirit.
Hmm.
And that has not been an easy recovery process. And now, yes, I know healing is real. And yes, I think it's easy for everybody. But I also realize a bad attitude can, as much as healing is easy, having something negative spiritually is kind of easy too if you
Yeah.
let. And that's why that's this whole. And then Mary, who may be Mary, who probably is, showed up and saved me from that pain, or is helping me. And that's my real story. That's why I'm talking with you guys. Nothing against my Protestant friends, but they don't have a grid for this.
More tools. Yeah, there's more
Yeah.
tools in the Anglo-Catholic sphere
Yeah,
than there
well,
are in the Protestant.
yeah, and so, and also, I like it that you guys are not charismatic, and I'll tell you why. And I'm not saying you're not led by the Spirit, but when I can get information that sounds right from people that aren't in my charismatic tribe, then I know I need to go outside my echo chamber.
It's strangulation, basically. If like every single civilization, every single religious text, every single poetry piece of great art says you shouldn't betray your friends, and it all does, and then being a coward is despicable.
Right.
It's that means that those things are just kind of true, and no civilization could stand on glorifying betrayal or cowardice.
Right. Help me tie this. How does this help
Right.
me
So the
understand?
fact that you would be looking to the bald guys who aren't charismatics,
Right.
and you could find, let's say, a certain way of speaking that is helpful from us, and also find it in there, you got a little bit of triangulation, basically, or
Yeah.
there might be a better word for it.
Well, it's their orientation, right?
Yeah.
Because it takes 3 points to orient,
Right.
and in Protestantism, you don't get orientation because you don't get 3
It's
points.
curious is I don't know, because of who I am, because I'm Jewish and I got saved at a pot festival. Basically in a nutshell. And I'm not trying to be any kind of disrespectful. I see Catholics and Protestants as you guys. I see profound differences, but y'all look the same. If I dig down deep enough, at the bottom of let's say a spinning top, if it's a good spinning top, Christ hit crucified, virgin birth, the Nicene Creed. And then we work out from there. And I've seen excellent people on both sides of the fence. And and that now that I'm navigating some new waters with she who may be Mary, I'm like, all right, that's not going to happen in my neck of the woods. And I'm not trying to shove it down their throats, but I can't deny what's happening. And to be honest with you guys, I'm just tired of what's going on. The war inside here, it's better than what it has been, but it ain't no picnic sometime. And I know it's only my fault. And I'm willing to go down the roads where I can find the help. And so these are the dialogues. And that's why I'm so Catholic adjacent, because Sister Teresa of Avila, man, love her of pieces. Brother Lawrence, St. John of the Cross. If they were around, I'd be like, okay, let's hang out. But here we are. And so, yes, I've seen crazy miracles. And I wonder if I'm getting dealt with so hard so that because I always have the scalpel and I want to be the doctor, not the psychopath. And I never think I'll never tell a new Christian, yeah, God will allow you to be in pain so that you keep your mouth shut and play nice with others. But I'm wondering, because I don't ever want to give God a bad rap, seeing that he uses pain and suffering to get you to behave. But I am now listening. I'm dumping it all out, and I will listen to you guys.
Not
I
not
mean,
to not,
you
not
you
to
have
get you to
noticed.
behave, right? But like the big difference, the biggest difference between, we'll say, the Catholics and everybody else is the Catholics will wear this little thing around their neck with a
Yeah.
guy being crucified.
Yeah.
Not great advertising, bad marketing, bad. Get me the Pope. I'll explain to him how this works. Okay, bad marketing. It's terrible, right? But it's not, because that is life.
Yeah.
It's not about punishment. It's like
No.
good, bad makes no difference. The suffering is there, right?
I think the quality of suffering is very different if you're good or bad.
Well,
listening.
maybe, but
That's
you
interesting.
don't get around the suffering because
True.
you're
Right.
good.
Right. Yeah, you'll get
Oh,
a different kind of suffering, I think, for being good versus and I 100% choose the good suffering, because it's like suffering with the hope of redemption rather than suffering because you're evil and you're making everything around you worse. Like that's one. I mean, it's like the addition of hope to your suffering, and that idea, because the crucifixion isn't just, oh, suffering's inevitable, but it's like, hey, did you hear about the third day? Did you hear about Jesus rising from the dead? And so it's that image, because like the Greeks had it, like Prometheus, getting
Mhm.
his liver eternally devoured by an eagle, right? Like
Yeah.
there's an image of profound suffering right there, but it's really hopeless because he just got eaten by an eagle forever, whereas
For helping people.
What's that?
yeah,
Yeah. Right.
but the story of Christ is like, yeah, he went through like probably the worst possible suffering. And
Yeah.
like he went through, suffering in all five of his senses and on every scale that you can rank human sufferings. He experienced a high degree of it. So his honor was completely, people told
Annihilated.
lies about him, ruined his reputation. He was abandoned by his family and friends. The person who was saying he was going to be his number one guy said, "I don't know the man." You
Right.
know, betrayal of somebody that he had trusted, all of those things. But he did get to rise again on the third day because he submitted himself to the Father. So that's the power of the crucifix right there. It's not that it's an image of suffering, but it's like, hey, on the other end of this, there's
Yeah.
going to be something good.
I think if I can really, I can articulate it, spiritual suffering, because there's a difference. I think for me, I've experienced physical suffering, which is no fun, but spiritual, like when you get attacked by a demon, there's a whole nother level of, oh, this is not fun. And in my Protestant world, it was only because usually it was sin, let something in. Maybe you were being cursed or attacked, that's valid as well. But to have a redemptive property, to have it be redemptive, to actually for it to be a tool, that one, I didn't understand that. And I'm still wrestling with, maybe, okay, yes, I'm experiencing something negative. I will overcome it. And when I overcome it is because there'll be some sort of repentance, a better understanding, relational or character development. And so where I was weak in one area, once I overcome it, I'll be strong in that area. So it's not so much, it's almost like weightlifting. I think Vervaeke says opponent process.
Don't say upon a processing amount, Mark. It'll trigger him.
Yeah. Sorry. Do you need a healing, Mark? Put your hand on the TV set. We're gonna free you. But sorry. But I mean, is you have to have, it's a resistance of sort where if I'm feeling, let's say this guy, a bully at work, and I'm like, I want to just curse him. God's like, no, I want you to love him. And I learned over time, okay, I know that I'm starting to see we're going around this mountain, and until I do this thing differently, I ain't changing. I'm tired of it enough. And so now I'm willing to love my enemies no matter what. Okay, fine.
Right. That's part of it. That's
Okay.
part of the deal, right? So some of your suffering is redemptive of you, right? And you could look at, and maybe you can really like resonate with this as you get yourself buried into an addiction, and then you've got to, you hit your rock bottom or whatever it is that causes you to decide that you're going to move in the other direction.
Yeah.
Like that's not fun. Like the recovery meetings, the making new choices, you're probably making brand new friends. You've got to go around and apologize and make amends wherever possible. All of that stuff is like no fun whatsoever. And it's a little bit of suffering for you, but like ultimately that's going to like heal you by embracing that. There's another level to it as well. And that's, Jesus wasn't atoning for any of his own sins on the cross. Right. Perfect man, son of God, all of that business. And yet his suffering willingly endured also gave power to heal the whole world. Right. And St. Paul just like alludes to this in Corinthians 1:24 when he says, I rejoice in my sufferings for your sake, because in my flesh, I'm filling up what is lacking in the body of Christ right there, or in the sufferings of Christ, for the sake of his body, the church. Super like helpful because, there were, you sometimes meet souls like this. And the story that sticks in my mind is somebody that Bishop Cousins from across the river got to meet in Belgium. He was permanently crippled. He had no use of his limbs, entirely bedridden. I can't remember if this was an illness or an accident or if he was born this way, but like in his early 20s, he just had like this profound spiritual darkness that came onto him because he didn't know what the purpose of his life was. So fortunately, it was Mother Teresa's sisters, the Sisters of Charity, were the ones who began to provide him with his medical care. He came and lived in one of their houses, and they began to catechize him about the value of his suffering if he offered it up for the sake of the world, right? And, I'm sure with the calamities that he dealt with and just kind of the imbalances that are present in all people, he had some vices and some sins that he needed to atone for. But his suffering seemed to far outstrip that. And the graces that were flowing through him far outstripped that. And Bishop Cousins was a young priest at the time, kind of recently ordained, studying in Rome, visits this man and can, just like Mark was talking about earlier, you can just tell. You can just tell not only is this somebody who's on the right path, but this is somebody who has entered into like a profound intimacy with God. And like the grace that's flowing into him is flowing out through him into the world. Right. And there's just really, this powerful redemptive suffering that's available to him because he has consciously decided to unite his physical and, like spiritual sufferings to Christ. Christ uses that for profound healing, So there's a level of that suffering, which is, like some of it is atoning for our sins and correcting our vices. That's correct. But there's also this capacity to suffer on behalf of others that is a more intense participation in the suffering of Christ.
So it is if I so as I am now, theologically and physically, if I just go, God, I offer this suffering up for others, is that valid?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if it's just
Really?
the anguish of
Yeah.
endless nagging doubt.
Right. Okay. No. See, I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, I've heard of it, because I've been with a lot of Catholic friends that I love dearly, and they say they would offer it up, and I'm like, I know that's noble. I like the way that sounds, but I thought you had to be Catholic to do that.
I mean, it sure helps, but nobody can stop you.
But I guess I'm really asking like someone who's just walked in the door. Can Protestants do that too, Potter? I mean,
So,
is it valid? And
just
I'm not
over
being
a week
sarcastic.
ago, we had a big ritual for everybody who's going to become Catholic at Easter, and it wasn't every parish in the diocese. It's usually pretty local to the people who can make it on a Sunday afternoon. We had two groups of people. We had catechumens, those who were seeking baptism, and we had candidates for full communion with the church, those who had been who had received a baptism that we would recognize from another church or ecclesial community.
Right.
And so we take the baptism that any baptism that we consider to be ours, but that other Christian groups can perform validly and truly, that we do take that seriously.
Right.
So I would say anybody who's validly baptized would have the capacity to share in that suffering there. And Colossians 1:24 is available for all Protestants. And you can also look at
What's
the
Colossians
passage.
1:24? Please.
Yeah, I rejoice in my sufferings for your sake. That one, and you can also look at St. Paul and the thorn in the side, where he says, my power is made perfect in weakness. So like this is a eminently biblical doctrine. Otherwise, the crucifixion and redemption of mankind doesn't make any sense.
See, now I'm actually from just this conversation, I feel like something's starting to click for me in that, because it'd be very satisfying if I was in the midst of whatever. I'm like, fine, you want to make me miserable? I'm gonna give it up I'll give it up to God and for the sake of others. I'm like, cool, then it's not for nothing.
That's exactly it. That's perfect, Ron. You've been listening. It's the difference between suffering, like the suffering that comes from being just, where you know that at the very minimum, this is going to help me atone for my sins and perfect me of my vices. And it might even help somebody else. Like that's as hopeful as we can possibly get, versus the sufferings of the wicked, where they're just going to get more suffering that doesn't do anything good.
And and I'm not, I believe what you're saying, and it does make sense. How does that work when, if I suffer, someone else doesn't have to? Like I'm helping carry their cross, or
you leave that up to God, really.
Okay. No, that's cool. I didn't know if you had anything theological to fill that out a touch or whatever, but
I suppose the theological explanation, but it's kind of vague. It's like you're
just going back to prayer, basically.
Yeah, you're meriting graces for somebody who needs them, I guess.
Okay,
you can like do it for specific people. It's like, oh man, I can't sleep tonight. I'm going to offer this up for my heathen brother. Something like that.
Okay, I think in my case it'd be if I'm tormented, I should offer it up for the people that are tormenting me. I just know that's what God would want. You know, what don't I want to do? There you go. Just it makes sense though. And because at the end of the day, when you see someone really get judgment, you're like, oh, I don't like that for them. Like, no, don't want it for anybody. That's a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
No, okay. Oh, this is interesting. I feel like I got me something here. I'm like, wait a second. I think I tried something on and it fit okay. So let's see.
Just in case anybody's wondering, this is all a grace and a gift from God.
Okay.
Even our ability to do that is a grace and a gift from God that our wills cooperated. In case there's any Calvinists in the audience who are, unbridged
they were
about
predestined to do it then. Don't worry about it. All right.
Fair enough.
No, this has been helpful. I got to flush some things out. I mean, really, I figure, I don't know who else is watching, but thanks, because I backed up the truck and dumped it.
No, that's good. And I think the other problem is a lot of people focus on endings and endpoints rather than focusing on the beginning or middle points where they're at.
Mhm.
And some people are at the beginning. Sometimes it's where you're going to focus, Yeah, but a lot of people just want an answer.
Right.
Right. And we're very answer oriented. And it's like, why don't you go on the journey and pay attention to that first? And then the answers will just happen. Like, you don't have to, a good answer does not need to be forced or sought. It'll just occur when it's ready.
Missing
When
the
you're
trees
ready
for the
to hear it,
forest.
basically.
Yeah, but I want it now.
Everybody does.
Then you can go read St. John Paul II's letter on redemptive suffering, Salvific Dolores, has been translated into English, so you can read it. And he would know he was lost both of his parents at an early age.
Oh, wow.
First, his country was occupied by the Nazis, and then it was occupied by the communists.
Yeah.
So, and he got to deal with all of the nonsense of these evil ideologies and the men animated by them trying to destroy his country and his religion. So he would know a thing or two about suffering, and would be writing from not just a theoretical standpoint.
No, I got a feeling you guys gave me the basic operating procedure of it. And nothing against reading it, but it probably would just say, give it up to God.
Well, there might be somebody in the audience who's looking for a little more. It could benefit everybody. But yeah, no, it is actually, it's one of those like simple but not easy things. There's all sorts of things that are really simple, but they're not easy at all. And this might be like the one. You just offer it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Fellas, thanks. It's been fun. It's a good time.
Sure.
So, time
Night,
is
Ron.
It's 10 o'clock. It's not. I won't die. I got up early, so this is my midnight. All right, guys. Okay. Cause trouble, repent later. See you. Bye.
Bye.
That's the St. Patrick's motto right there for St. Patrick.
No, Mark. No. We talked about this.
Aren't you supposed to give it up? I mean, I've forgotten it was St. Patrick's. I was on my way to the bar when you reminded me. It's like, thanks.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
Are you do you have any Irish ancestry, Father Eric or Mark?
If I do, it's way back there, and at this point, it's a laughably small percentage. The Germans have come in and conquered, so I don't really, like St. Patrick's great, big fan. I loved Ireland; like that was a fabulous place to visit. They all love Americans there, so I call it international travel on easy mode because they all speak a relatively understandable version of English, and they're just very pro-American, so you don't deal with any kind of snooty stuff. The only trouble is they drive on the wrong side of the road, so
Yeah.
that can make Ireland a little bit difficult to navigate.
That could be scary. My great grandmother was off the boat, so very Irish on that side, and a little Irish on the French Canadian side
Wait,
too.
doesn't
Apparently.
all of the world outside of America drive on the left side of the road, or?
Nope.
Just England and Ireland
And
and
Scotland
Scotland
and Wales.
and Wales.
So the UK,
Yeah.
basically. Okay, so
And I
Europe,
thought
they drink on the right, they drive on the right side.
they do. I remember living in Norway, and we brought over an American minivan, and no trouble driving. Because our big American van wouldn't fit in England in Norway, because
Right.
the roads are just smaller there. So we had to squeeze into a minivan for a few years. Didn't even have power locks. Felt like a real downgrade.
That's
You
funny.
open up the front door, and then you had to
Yeah.
reach around to get the sliding door
Yeah.
open.
If I ever visit the UK, I would like to see where the ancestral home of C.S. Lewis or J. Chesterton.
Yeah,
If
well,
it's a
C.S.
possibility.
Lewis, he was from Belfast, I think. So that would be Northern Ireland.
That's the UK.
Yeah, it's the UK. It's the UK. But that's Northern Ireland. And then golly, I don't know where Chesterton was from. Somewhere in England, I know that.
Someplace. The whole place is tiny. It doesn't matter. You can see the whole thing. It's not that big, so it'll be fine.
Well, it's maybe not that big, but it's pretty deep.
It can be in between. Yeah.
Yeah. But in America, 100 years is a long time, and in Europe, 100 miles is a long way.
Yep.
One of
Yep.
those things.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah,
don't
like-
have
60 miles to the ocean, right? From any point or less. Yeah. It's small.
As I understand, Catholics are generally pretty big Lewis and Chesterton fans generally.
Oh yeah. Well, everybody wants C.S. Lewis. Like the Protestants are like, "Hey, here's our scholar," and then the Catholics are like, "Well, if his dad didn't hate Catholics, he probably would have become Catholic." I'm sure the Orthodox liked him too. I don't know. I haven't really heard any. Yeah. So anyway, everybody wants a piece of C.S. Lewis.
And Catholics like Chesterton.
Oh yeah, we like Chesterton. See the ancestral home of Popeye in Chester, Illinois.
Very important.
Wait,
Yeah.
Popeye? Who's Popeye?
Popeye
Is
the
it-
Sailor Man. He was a old school cartoon character.
He's
I
the
know that.
patron
I don't-
saint of strength and spinach.
Yeah, I know who Popeye is. I don't know. Is this like a real person he's based off of?
No, I think Don's just being funny, talking about the ancestral home of comic book characters. Like, Peanuts and Charlie Brown are from the Twin Cities because that's
Yep.
where Charles Schultz lived.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the same sort of thing. Unless Popeye was actually based on a real life person, but you would think a sailor wouldn't be in Chester, Illinois, unless that's a Great Lakes port town.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't know.
most of that's Chicago. So
Chicago's interesting. I flew into Chicago once and I was like, do these guys know there's a giant lake that looks like it's going to eat them? I wouldn't live there. Very scary.
so far it hasn't. So they can keep a good thing going.
It really doesn't look like it when you're in a plane at the right angle. It really doesn't look like it should be there. It looks like the lake is literally about to just swallow it. So, just saying.
I mean,
Watch out, Chicago.
are the Great Lakes big enough to have a big tide?
They kind of do in spots, but it's not a tide technically, right? Because tides are mediated more by the landscape, right? So like yeah, this is, I didn't even know this. So like if you go to a beach in Massachusetts, all the beaches are the same, and the difference between high tide and low tide is a few feet. You go to the beach in Maine,
because of the Chesapeake Bay.
it's the difference. It's not Chesapeake Bay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Buzzards Bay. The difference, it's probably partly because of the bay. The difference is how the land is, right? And so, so like the highest tides in the world, right, which is up in Canada there, in Bay of Fundy, those tides are high because of the funnel effect of the land, and not because of the quote tides as such. And so when you have a lake that's mostly like round, you're not going to get much tidal effect.
Mhm.
But yeah, they have tides, right? They definitely get, I mean, they're huge. They have like super bad weather and stuff, right? That they can
Oh
get
yeah,
in
no, I hate
peril.
flying through Chicago because you're as likely as not to get delayed. So I always insist on just taking Delta and paying an extra $200 versus American, because Delta has their hub in Minneapolis, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, whereas
Yeah.
American Airlines has their hub in O'Hare. And like flying out of Fargo, it's not like we have too many options and we don't know which one to pick.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have
true.
3 options: Minneapolis, Chicago, and Denver. So,
Ooh, and none of those are good options. They're all far away.
yep, that's just, and also Allegiant direct flights, which go twice a week somewhere warm. So,
There you go. I didn't realize that about American, that they had a hub in Chicago. That makes sense now why I can go directly to Chicago from Columbia. I can fly right out of Columbia to Chicago. I'm like, well, that's a weird direct flight, but it's like, oh, okay, it makes sense now.
it's a hub. It's a horrible place for a hub because the weather's always rotten there, but it's a hub.
That's a miserable airport too. My goodness, don't fly in and out of
Always
O'Hare. Barf.
always crowded. Like,
Yeah.
how do you manage that? Like sometimes Minneapolis is crowded, and then like a lot of times it's just kind of like a normal crowd.
Right, right. Yeah, and some of the hubs aren't bad. Like Charlotte's awesome. They're still redoing the airport, but they've got another set of runways open. So now it's a lot like Chicago. So last time I landed, I was like, where are the gates? I can't even see them. Like, what's going on?
Oh yeah,
At
the
Chicago,
15-minute taxi.
Yeah, in Chicago, you just taxi around the airport 62,000 times, whatever. But
Yeah.
no, in Charlotte now, if you get the far runway, it's like, this is a long trip. You're just kind of like, doo screwing along, like, where are we going? And you're going underneath and around, and it's like, can we get to the gate, please? It's like, what's going on? So yeah.
Yeah. That's still faster than driving.
Yeah, it's a lot faster. Well, I'll be out. We'll be driving all over the country soon. So May.
Oh, all right.
We're gonna drive out and see Sally. Then we're gonna drive to New England. Then we're gonna drive home. It's gonna be a long May and first week and a half of June, that's for sure. A lot of driving.
All right. Well, you made the choice apparently, so.
Yep. It's a choice. It's good. It's get more experience, right? Like you gotta get out, gotta get experience. We were just talking about that. We're like, do we go to the little AI event in town on Thursday? And it's like, yes, because we haven't gotten out of the house. And the next little AI event is gonna be when we're gonna be away. So Thursday it is. Thursday we're leaving the house for sure. And not just to go, clear beaver damage.
Lefebvre's maxim: touch grass.
Yeah, is it really touching grass if you're going to talk about AI though?
Yeah, we're going
Well-
in town. If I touch grass, is just go out the door because I live in the woods. So Yep,
I'd
they
be
don't have
interested
that
to
problem.
see, is this like that entrepreneurs group that we visited? Or is this like a computer
You-
group?
Yeah, you wouldn't recognize what's going on over there. So it's at their place. So remember the back room that they were redoing? That's
Mhm.
mostly done now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll be back there, but that's full of offices now. But there's some empty space. The bar is now a bar, and there's actually a coffee shop there. So it's all changed around, and they don't do the entrepreneurship meeting anymore. But
Mm.
my buddy, who I met at the entrepreneurship meeting, Fred, he does the he calls it Silicon Swamp. And so now we have Silicon Swamp meetings, and then one of the people from that, because Fred's off in San Francisco for some odd reason, he is doing an AI presentation with agentic AI or something. I forget the topic. But that's when we go to leave the house to meet these things called people. Cannot recommend, but apparently you got to do that every once in a while. So
Otherwise, you go nuts. So, you do need to do that.
I
I'm
only go nuts
curious to hear,
more people, not
right?
fewer.
So, like, I hear like the breathless techno bro, we're just one model away from AGI nonsense, and then
Those
I
are
hear
liars.
AI is going to replace every accountant and legal clerk.
Liars.
Both sides
I'm
are
just
wrong.
curious. I'm just curious to know what they talk about in the Silicon Swamp about AI. Is it going to be like look? Here's like a few things that you can use these tools for that might help you, or is it going to be like the more breathless,
No,
we
there's
want
two.
investor money kind of talk?
There's two camps around here. There's a guy named Kevin who runs stuff, who I also met at the entrepreneurship meeting. He runs a once a month AI thing, and usually what they're doing is talking about, here's how I use it in my business. And one of the other guys, Derek, gave a wonderful presentation on, if you're going to do Facebook ads, just click the AI and let it do the work, because Facebook has an unbelievable amount of information on audience, and as long as you don't lie to it, it will pick way better than you can. And he showed some examples and stuff. It's real practical stuff. The Silicon Swamp stuff that they're doing, so we had Fred until he moved to San Francisco, although he's coming back and forth. He's a top level guy. Like, he's really smart. He also knows, like, what is it? Spintronics magnetics or something, like, how to move atoms with magnets, basically. That was what his PhD was on.
MC magic, got it.
He's a little smart, but he's
TCS
also a top level AI guy, and he gave a lot of talks. One of the talks that we did, though, was one of the insurance guys was using AI. So it tends to be very practical. This is bring your laptop. So they're going to, have us do stuff with agentic AI. It's all hands-on stuff for the most part. We don't engage in the garbage AGI talk and stuff. That doesn't happen here, thankfully, because that's all lies. Like, it's all ridiculous lies. And right now, some of the focus has shifted because they're talking about the limitations of the models and how we've hit the wall and all that, which is all true, right? And they're doing the math and saying, no, mathematically we've hit a wall. So a lot of people are being a lot more healthy about it now.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's glad to hear. It's glad to hear that. So when you're talking like agentic AI, is that like the idea that you're just going to go tell an AI to get you a hotel room in this city with these parameters and it just takes care of it for you?
Oh yeah, it's way better. So right now, if you've got like Claude, you can do, it'll do coding for you. And if you have to prompt it a certain way. If you prompt it a certain way, it'll just actually write better code and really fast. It's quite quick sometimes. But what they have is this thing they called MCP. And what it does is it basically allows the AI to interface things on your computer. So you can give it access to open files and edit them and stuff.
I've seen this movie, the MCP. MCP's a bad guy.
No, it's not a movie. It's this model context protocol.
No, that's the master control program.
It's master control program in Tron. Yep. And then the original, which is an excellent movie. But with that does cool stuff. So that's agentic because it'll open files on your computer, it'll surf the web for you, it'll fill in forms, it'll do all kinds of things potentially. And you got to be a little careful with it, obviously. But yeah, it's actually that's what everyone's playing with right now because it's just effectively it's a protocol to tell it what interfaces it has access to and how to use them. And then once you plug it in, it goes, oh, I know how to open files. I will find that file on your hard drive. I will open it for you and I will find the context that you want, copy and highlight that and throw it into a new file and put it here on your desktop. Like it can do stuff like that now. And it's just like,
hey man, if it's
that's a
better than
little
Windows search in the File Explorer box, then like sign me up.
well,
But
You
you
should
can
be
like
Copilot
check.
there for you on Windows now, maybe a little better than before. No,
not if you did the March update, which apparently deletes Copilot by accident.
oh, I didn't know that.
I just
Don't you
found
need
out
to have-
yesterday. I'm like, that's the hysterically funniest thing ever. They
That's- that's-
deleted their own AI off the computer.
Yeah, that
with
is
an
like
update.
Microsoft 101. Just shoot themselves in the foot like every time.
Such morons.
Well, everyone else eats their lunch, and somehow they maintain market share in the enterprise because nobody wants to move anywhere else.
Well, it's momentum. Like you can't get them
Yeah.
out. It's momentum.
Yeah,
They're just
yeah,
too big.
exactly.
What
But
are
they
you
make a
gonna do?
lot of bonehead mistakes.
Well, yeah. I mean, they invented the let the end user beta test the software nonsense that everybody's using, and we've just been suffering ever since.
We don't know. Yeah, users don't know what they want.
No, but also they shouldn't
they
be the
can't
one
do it.
finding the bugs. Like
Exactly.
if your users are finding bugs, you're a terrible software engineer. You should be fired and go work at McDonald's. And then maybe you can work your way up, or maybe you have to work your way down. I don't know. There's no reason, especially now with containers.
Yeah.
Like the one thing they don't use containers for is testing.
Testing.
And man, all software could be. Not only that, you could do all the testing with agentic AI without coding.
True.
And,
That is-
and the
yeah.
agentic AI could do all the production level testing, and
Yeah.
no users would ever see another bug again. No one's even looking at it. No. one.
Imagine replacing like a Selenium type tool with AI.
Yep.
That's the future of testing for sure.
You could. Well, the problem now, and I've been, realizing this is really bad now. Like you kind of have to use Chrome for things. And the reason why Chrome is better at every website is because things like Selenium and Cucumber, I think Cucumber uses Selenium.
Yeah.
They only test Chrome because you can only test Chrome that way.
Yeah.
And so everyone's software is tested with the Chrome browser and no software is tested with Firefox
Right.
or Edge or Opera or any of these other browsers.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just flying blind on those browsers. Nothing has been tested on them or not truly tested. They're like, well, it's all WebKit. No, but it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
terrible. But you're right. I mean, the real revelation for AI would be, yeah, I'm going to spin up 5 user config machines, even if they're containers. Like that's a great use for container development. It's a horrible use for containers. And then I'm gonna load the software in from scratch, right, on a brand new machine, right? It's never been touched before. It's not the developer's machine, right? And then I'm going to test the software by actually using the browser, using the MCP protocol, and actually browsing and running all the test suites. You could do that. That would improve software overnight, about 1,000-fold, but no one's ever going to do it because no one likes testing. Because then you
Nope.
have to tell developers they're retarded, and developers don't like to know they're retarded, even though they are, and they would benefit from knowing that. Because if you don't know you're retarded, you can't improve.
That's a bit harsh.
Well, it's fair
Truth is
enough.
harsh.
Yeah.
Bruce works with these guys. He knows. He'll tell you.
It's true. That's all I do. I go home just to do like real work. So like today I decided to embark on doing more home wiring and things. So I'm crawling around attics and I'm drilling things and I'm terminating cables and testing and actually doing like fun tech work. Whereas my normal gig is all sorts of, abstract developer handholding. You know what I mean? It's just not nearly as fun.
Yeah.
A real shame.
Wow. That was we got to witness an exchange between two experts there. It's always interesting to
We lost the room.
well to watch how quickly people can talk when they're just give in to the jargon and the shared understanding.
I mean,
You move very quickly in such circumstances.
you'd feel smart if you're talking to a fellow priest or.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love talking to another priest because it's like, oh gosh, I had another screw up in the confessional. Oh man, sorry to hear that. You
I'd
know,
love to see you talk to Bishop Robert Barron if he ever is ever willing to entertain you.
we'll see. He's founding an order of priests. You know, he wants the word on fire priests.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm a little, man, like I'm kind of
I'm
curious,
I'm
but
a
like
big
I also
fan.
kind of don't want to leave Fargo because, man, I understand why it's like 20-year-olds in the army. You know, because they could just go do stuff. You don't really care, you know, but you get on the other end of 30 and you're like, I kind of like what I got going on here. I don't want to just leave, you know. Like this is pretty good. We'll keep it going. So anyway,
I like Bishop Robert Barron. I think he's one of the better voices in the Peterson sphere. I guess you could call it. I don't know if you would identify as part of it, but I would.
he's certainly within the sphere of influence. You know, he had like a number of conversations with him,
Yeah, and
even back
Pageau.
in like 2018, you know, which that was a few years ago now. So
I mean,
it's
it's about
interesting to
time.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about time. But he talked to Pageau recently too, so like he's definitely,
Do
you
another
know,
conversation. I just wanted to reach through the computer and smack Peterson in the very last conversation that he had with Bishop Barron when he was talking about how the AI models disprove
Postmodernism.
postmodernism.
Yeah.
oh
I mean,
yeah,
I was just like,
Peterson.
dude, like
The problem
I
with
can't think of
Peterson.
anything more banal than offloading the work of theology to a computer.
It's a
Like,
mess too. It's not how can I say this? It's taking polemics and using them for their for response. And so like sometimes there's more polemic work than there is what I would consider to be thoughtful theology
Mhm.
in the world. So what it's using for its learning model is not it's it's very cynical because it's using polemics. You know what I mean? Kind of weird.
but you're
Yeah,
only
no, it's
you're gonna get the flat world view from the AI that's
mm,
based on a book. So you're gonna
mhm.
get like more Protestant splitting. That's what you're gonna get. You're not gonna get the richness and fullness of participation and experience and you know all the good parts because the AI has no no way to do that. And it's ironic, right? Because we're talking about this agentic AI idea where the AI is able to move things in the world independently of you to some extent, although run entirely by your words. Isn't this weird, right? It sounds like these guys dream, these super articulate persons dream, right? But at the same time, you know how many AI models there are, and how many AI projects there are, and how many AIs there are, and how many ways there are to talk to the thing. I mean, it's endless. It's actually endless. There are thousands of models on Hugging Face. Thousands. I'm like, will that happen fast? Like, what is happening? Why are
Yeah,
there
what
Billions of
thousands of models?
venture capitalist dollars went into AI very quickly, and that's how Nvidia got a $3 trillion market cap.
Right.
So
Overnight. Yeah.
What's
overnight,
Nvidia
yeah.
again?
well
What's Nvidia?
to be fair, they are indeed the only game in town.
Yeah. They are the AI company at some
Yeah.
level. They kind
Yeah.
of invented the tech.
Yep.
I'll have to look
The
more into them.
yeah, Nvidia. Oh yeah, Nvidia. They've been making graphics cards since like the early 2000s, and you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
the graphics card market was always kind of, you know, it's not a huge market. They had stuff to do there and technical advancements to make, but once this AI stuff got hot, they were actually in on the ground floor with the hardware that you use to run AI programs, and like the CUDA cores, right? The CUDA
Yeah,
cores
but-
are the
and the
AI
tooling.
accelerators.
Yeah, but
And,
they had the tooling because I bought the original CUDA cards. I had 2 of them in my machine because I'm a psychopath, and it was a business write-off, so it was a good deal for me. Tax write-off, and yeah, the tooling even in the beginning was awesome. Like they put all this work into proper development tools, and so that's why AMD could never compete. It wasn't just about core speed. You've got to have the software tools to take advantage of the core speed, even if it's theoretically there. And you can't catch up to that. And they didn't, like, it was high margin business. I mean, those cards were like, I think those
$4,000.
cards were $500 a piece back then. $500 a lot more money back then, man. And I
Yeah.
could have and did not mine Bitcoin, which is my mistake. I should have had like 30 Bitcoin by now.
You and everyone else, man.
No, you mined them and spent them. That's a different problem. I
True.
didn't even mind them. But they had high margin business. Those are high margin cards. But then they got the crypto, because those cards are
Right.
great for crypto.
It was crypto before AI. I forgot about
For
that.
AI.
Yeah.
Right. So they were already an overvalued company based on the crypto thing. And when the crypto collapse happened, they didn't even see it because AI was everywhere. And really what happened was all the wealthy people like Elon Musk started to go, oh, no, AI is the future. We're going to dump all our free capital that we haven't been dumping in the market into AI. And so, yeah, NVIDIA just got tons of orders that they couldn't even fill. And they had so much money. And they had been doing the development of that set of technologies around the gaming, and then they split it into 2 pieces basically, and around what we now call AI, they have their own like computer CPU chips now. They're huge. They're like
They
this
are
big.
gigantic. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
enormous, but they're unbelievably cool and wicked
Yes.
fast. And they're
I'm
just
into
How
them.
many cores do they put in that?
I don't, the specs were so nuts, I couldn't even remember them. I was like, my brain can't process numbers.
It's definitely, because it's definitely interesting because Apple kind of did that too.
Right.
And so now I'm interested. Kind of like that scene in Django where he's like, at first you had my interest, curiosity, now you have my attention. Because Apple doing their own SoC or entire system on chip made for this, I thought was kind of like nail in the coffin for NVIDIA AI, things like that. But this is impressive. It's going to make things very interesting in the compute world, which is good. We need more competition because right now it's not great, So I'm excited.
I've got something competing for my attention right now, and
Mm.
that's my bet because it's dark outside and we're past 9:30, which is the traditional time for ending this live stream. So, good night and God bless you all.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's
St.
Day.
Patrick's Day.